Welcome back to a brand new reaction. Today we got why was Singapore kicked out from Malaysia. This is from History Matters. Looking forward for this one. Before we do jump into this video, I've just recently created a Patreon. So if you guys want to support a little bit further, then the link is down below in the description. Appreciate anybody that wants to do that. All right, let's get straight to this one.
It's not often that territories are kicked out of countries. Most nations will often go to great lengths to make sure that they keep hold of as much land and as many people as humanly possible.
True.
Yet in 1965, this very thing happened to...
Literally honestly, when I watch these videos, every single country just wants to hold land. They just want to hold land. Apart from Britain, they pretty much gave back a lot. But they had also, like, reasons to do so.
Singapore when it was ejected from Malaysia. Given how rare willingly losing a bit of land is throughout human history, the obvious question is...
Why?
Why was Singapore, such a geographically important region, kicked out of Malaysia?
Okay.
So, after the Second World War, Southeast Asia was in a place of flux, and many of the area's imperial powers were struggling to reassert their authority there. This was because throughout the war, these areas had been occupied by Japan, and the Japanese had made sure to place them under the control of the native people. And at the end of the war, the Europeans returned and had wanted everything to go back to normal. But fun fact, no. One example is Britain. As of 1948, Britain's Southeast Asian colonies were the Federation of Malaya, Singapore, Sarawak, Brunei, and North Borneo.
Wait, so like Singapore right now is its own country, right? Man, that's so small.
Despite
What the
Britain's
fuck?
best efforts, though, by September 1963, all of these colonies, barring Brunei, were independent. And all of these independent states opted to join the brand new Malaysia in the same year. For some...
Oh, wait, Singapore was always its country. It was just... Wait, is Malaysia like a part... Wait, hold on.
It was fear of communist takeover.
I think I'm getting confused right now.
For Singapore, it was about giving it access to larger markets to increase its wealth. And also, Malaysia wasn't Britain, which seemed like a step in the right direction for Singapore.
Right, okay.
Yet, a mere 2 years after joining Malaysia, Singapore was out. But why? Well, the reason was primarily political.
Yeah. So it's just all four of those. Okay, right, yeah.
Malaysian politics at this time was dominated by the Malaysian Solidarity Convention, a coalition of right-wing parties led by Tunku Abdul Rahman that represented Malaysia's largest ethnic groups. Whereas Singaporean politics was monopolised by the People's Action Party, which was a more centrist multi-ethnic party headed by Lee Kuan Yew. Now, both sides had rushed into this union because fear of communism, and both immediately ran into major issues.
There we go. That's what I was thinking of. It's more of Malaysia's more of a union than an actual country, so it was kicked out of the union. All right, so that's like the UK with like Scotland, Wales, and...
The first was that Malaysia operated on a system called Malaysian Malaysia, which discriminated against those who weren't ethnically Malaysian. The second was that the central government based in Kuala Lumpur was sure to clamp down on any idea of Singapore maintaining any real autonomy because it was afraid that Singapore would become the nation's heart. As such, the PAP, despite promising not to, opted to run in the 1964 federal election against the MSC. Now, the PAP was crushed, but the fact that it ran on a platform of ending racial discrimination worried the MSC.
Wow.
The reason being that about 30 to 35% of Malaysia's population was ethnically Chinese, and this voting bloc could have kept the MSC out of power. In fact, the only reason why most Chinese Malaysians voted for the MSC was the threat that any attempt to rewrite the system in place would lead to the government joining Indonesia to keep the Chinese out of power forever. As such, Rahman came up with a brilliant idea. Let's just kick Singapore out. Tensions continued to rise and culminated in a series of race riots in Singapore, whose population was overwhelmingly Chinese. You should know, though, that this wasn't some quick unilateral decision, and there were many months of discussions between both sides. Most Singaporean leaders wished to remain a part of Malaysia, but some, like Goh Keng Swee, wanted to have a much looser agreement. The Malaysian government said no, and so Swee pushed for Singapore to leave Malaysia altogether. The deadlock continued and tensions rose further, and so Rahman went to the Malaysian parliament and pushed for a vote on simply expelling Singapore, which he won unanimously. On August the 9th, 1960.
Has this happened before? Has someone been kicked out of a union? Is Singapore the only people to be kicked out of a union?
1965, the Singaporean representatives reluctantly declared independence, and thereafter Singapore would be an independent nation, one which then became incredibly wealthy, so it sort of worked out in the end.
Wow.
I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Alright, really good video. Enjoyed that one. Hopefully you guys did as well. If you did, make sure you do leave a thumbs up. Make sure you do subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.